Waitley on SEN.
It is Melbourne Membership Day on SEN. Grab your Demons 10-game flexi membership for $100. You've already heard from the coach, Stephen King, with Gary and Tim. The Chief Executive, Paul Guerra, is with me. Paul, great to have you on the program.
Great to be here, Jared, after an opening round of footy, which has left everybody excited, I think.
And it's left you waiting. Do you feel you're going to have to wait a long time till Sunday?
I know. It feels like an eternity after watching the games from last weekend, and we'll sit patiently through this one and get our turn Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Good news is it's going to be a beautiful Sunday afternoon, so we hope to see both the Saints fans and the Melbourne fans there en masse.
Are you a yes or a no on the current construct of opening round?
We're a yes, but we'd rather play. Yes. Stretching it out for nearly 2 weeks has been hard. Look, the AFL's really clear what they're trying to do, and that's to expand the audience up north. We're a party to that, and we'd love to participate.
Sunday afternoon home game, MCG. Just give us the phase, I suppose. Is this the new beginning?
It is the new beginning. New coach, new president, new CEO, new chief of footy innovation, and a bunch of new players in there as well. Jack Steele, Brady Mychak, Max Heath and CJ. And, of course, the old stalwarts that we've got there, starting with our captain, maybe the best player in the comp at the moment, but certainly the best ruckman, along with, we've got Alan Richardson to stabilise us off field as well. So we're excited about what the season ahead is going to be for the Melbourne Football Club.
Is this what you envisaged, that there would be this much change on the way to the Fresh campaign?
You probably never know, right? But we got to the end of last year and, fortunately for us, we looked at where footy was going, and the fast tempo that we saw over the weekend wasn't a surprise to us. We needed to make some changes in our list. Our results told us that, 14th and 14th for the last 2 years. So, we're not going to die wondering. So, new coach come in, he's brought a new mantra with him, new president, which happened seamlessly over the summer as well, myself in there as well. And, we're building now to what our next premiership window is going to be.
Do you feel a level of, so there's the obvious excitement. Was there reason to be optimistic from what you were able to see in the trial games?
Yeah, and I think even the weekend's games, that ball was moving faster than what Lewis Hamilton was down the main straight of Albert Park, and we kind of called that. So we've got the youth coming through, and they're quick. We've got Jack Steele coming in to give us that big body, and Jack Viney when he comes back as well. So we're happy with the style of football that Stephen's brought to it, and we're really happy with the mantra that he's developed for the team, which is around ruthless, selfless, and connected.
What are you feeling from the membership?
Optimism, and that's the sense that we're getting back, and it's building. We're just under 50,000 now. We're on our way to 65,000. Anybody that's not on board, there's an offer for you today, and that's the Flexi membership. $100, and you get 10 tickets. Whether you bring your family, friends, or use all 10 yourself, it's up to you. But we want to build to be over 65,000. But importantly, we want to make sure that we get more Melbourne supporters, Melbourne fans, and members to the games to watch us play.
You had a great video go out a couple of weeks ago, Group Therapy for Famous Demon Fans. Just take us behind the curtain there. What was the methodology of that?
A bit of fun, and that's what we want to be in the football club. We want to laugh a lot more this year and a bit fun with it. But my sense coming to the club, there were a few wounds that were still open. The fan base was telling us to lean in and understand the predicament they were in. So we spoke to a couple of our more notable fans and suggested this is what we want to do, and they jumped in behind us. I've got to say, Titus O'Reilly was just brilliant in terms of the work he did for us.
Did it land?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. And what part of this is around growing a fan base, and we got applause from not just Melbourne people, but non-Melbourne people as well. It's bringing that sense of fun back to the footy. Ultimately, that's what we're going for, is to be entertained, and if we can start doing that off field, it's going to signal what we're going to be doing on field as well.
Is there any? Does that give a little insight into sort of old Melbourne, new Melbourne? What the club has been and what you want the club to be?
Well, I think it's more a line in the sand moment of this is the direction that we're going in now. Jump in. We've got an exciting group here. Stephen King's talked about the style of football that he wants to play, which is going to be entertaining. We want to be entertaining when people come to the match as well, so that they're coming back on a more regular basis, and we want people to smile a bit more. We know we're going to be a higher scoring team than what we were last year, and this is all part of the build to where we think our next premiership is going to come from.
So you've given a pretty good insight into why Stephen King won the job and what he was able to pitch at that stage. Is how have you seen him bed it down as he heads to his first game as a senior coach at Melbourne?
Oh, I think he's been outstanding in the time that he's been there. You look at the people that have come to the club with him. Jared Rivers has joined us. Troy Chaplin, who was recently awarded the Phil Walsh Award, stayed with the club as well. Nathan Jones has stepped up, and you got Matthew Scarlett down there for a day a week as well. So just the people that Stephen's able to get around him, the relationships that he's built with not only the players but the fans. I did an event with him last week, and he's just someone that connects really easily, yet he has this beautiful balance between the job that is football and family. So Thursday night, for example, one of his sons is playing for Oakley Chargers. He prioritised that to make sure he was at the jumper presentation there. So you've got this really balanced individual that is learning every day, but brings a great body of work to the role of coach.
It feels... he's new to it, I know, but he feels incredibly open and inclusive. Is that how it feels internally?
Yeah, and there's a real alignment here, from Stephen Smith through to Stephen King, Ned Guy and Alan Richardson and myself. We're clear about what we want to achieve. I'd speak to Steve Smith daily. I'd speak to Steve King probably every second day, and Ned Guy and Alan Richardson probably daily as well. So, we're really clear about where we want to be, the environment where we're trying to create, and, the sense of fun and entertainment that we want to bring, and ultimately translating that to on-field to make sure that when our fans come along, they're left absolutely no question about what we're trying to do.
There's a line in the group therapy around 2028. It's sort of half in jest, but there's usually a little bit of truth in that. Is that your timeline and what you're trying to build for the next wave of premiership contention?
Hard to predict, isn't it? I mean, you see the footy on the weekend and how the ball was flying around everywhere. It sort of follows the state game a little bit in terms of the speed of movement. We think we've got, the hallmarks of that. What happens down our back line this year? Jake Lever's essentially a new recruit for us based on the amount of time he spent off-field last year. Of course, no Stephen May. So there'll be some young guys coming through there. We've added CJ off the back line. He'll give us some run and dash. And then up forward, Brodie Myercheck into the team is going to give us some stability, which we'd expect Jack Van Rooyen and Matty Jefferson to really benefit from as well. Then you've added the speed through Latrell and Cozzy running through there, and that bulk through Jack Steele and Jack Viney when he gets back. So we've got the hallmarks there, and I haven't even mentioned Langford, Windsor, Taylor, and a few others in there that really going to carry the ball differently than what we have in the past few years.
It's a pretty comprehensive picture of the on-field. Give me the off-field, the quest to find a home, the eternal quest for Melbourne to find a home. Where are you in the short, medium and long term?
Yeah, it's the challenge, I think, one of the last challenges left for the football club to really call itself one of the premier clubs in the competition. We're the only one of 18, soon to be 19, that don't have a home, and even Tasmania aren't going to start until they get their home there. So whilst we're really happy with what we've got down at Casey, and it's a great facility down there, it can't house the whole club. Where we are at the MCG, we can't house the whole club, and where we are at Amy, we can't house the whole club. And it's things like we don't have our own gym at Amy. We're sharing that with Storm and with Victory. We don't have our own space where the whole club can come together. And ultimately, we need an environment where football and the business side are able to come together. Every other club has done it. We need to be able to solve for that, as well as one commissioner, AFL commissioner, said to me, Paul, you've got to take the excuses out of footy. And that's probably for Melbourne, the last excuse. So the board's been hard at work for a number of years now, and they're getting closer. Working with the state government to find a space down at Caulfield. We're closer than what we ever have been before, but still not close enough to announce. But when we are able to, that will become the new home for the Melbourne Football Club.
Have you contemplated a halfway house at Waverley?
I think we always look at alternates, Jared, and once we've announced Caulfield, and the negotiations are a delicate stage with the state government, I think what we've got that locked away, we can then start to look at how long is it going to take us to move in to Caulfield by the time we get approvals and then build. And then what might be available in the interim. Certainly there's a lot of chatter about Waverley, but our focus right now is on how do we secure Caulfield and how do we get there as soon as we can.
What would be the best case scenario of when Melbourne might be at Caulfield?
I think somewhere between the 3 to 5 year window is what I would hope. By the time we get announcement, planning approvals, and then build, I think that time frame is pretty realistic.
Yeah. How is that your greatest priority?
I've got a lot of equal priorities. That's
Yes.
one of them to solve. I want to turn the club in, so we're not sort of hand to mouth. Our financial reserves are growing, and we do that by playing better football. We do that by having more people sign up for membership. We do that by getting greater sponsors, and we do that by having more people attend the game. And that's part of the reset that we did last year with Stephen King coming in and the style of footy that he's got. And there'll be a few things that we'll do to engage a younger audience through the game this year as well. So it'll feel different going to a Melbourne game this year, and we're hoping that means people are going to be not only entertained by what happens on the field, but entertained by what happens off the field as well.
So it's a club that you know so well, Paul, and now you've got your hands on the wheel. There are two identities always. There's the MCC and the club itself, and how all of that intermingles. How big can the club be in your mind?
Well, it's the oldest professional sporting club in the world. And when you think about that for a minute and where sport is gone, Melbourne with the brand name of a great city, the Grand Prix beamed to millions of people around the world and had Melbourne plastered all over it. There's no reason Melbourne can't be the biggest in the competition. Collingwood have that mantra at the moment, and they've done a great job in doing that. We've got a model that we can follow, but we've also got some opportunities to step outside the space a bit. Melbourne has a proud history. But we've got to create our next version of history, and that's where we look into what's our future going to be. The more people that follow us, the more people that get engaged with us, the better we're going to be. But some of that starts with us. Yeah,
so has the club never quite managed to fully unlock that, would you say?
It's hard to look backwards because footy moves so quickly, Jared, and we're in a different environment now. So all I'm trying to do is tap into what's going on across the world at the moment from a sporting sense. We've got NFL on their doorstep in September that so well. It's going to be great for Melbourne. Where does footy sit in all that? How do we take our game, not only from a national basis and grow that, but then internationally as well? We've got opportunities there, and we've got the potential to learn from other sports as well, and that's what I'm keen to do with the footy club. On top of that, we've got a strong business cohort. How do we leverage that business cohort to make Melbourne the place to not only come and watch footy, but the place to come and do business as well?
So when the prospect came to take this job, Paul, as you would have had your ideas, I am curious now that you're in there, you feel absolutely energised, and the vision, is there even more scope now that you're inside than when you pictured it when they were trying to recruit you?
Yeah, I think that's right, Jared. So you sort of go through that excitement phase of looking at the role and then going through the process and ultimately winning the role. Then other things start to open up. The relationship I have with Steve Smith, for example, that's growing every day, and it's really positive to have that support of him and the board. A great start with Brad Green, who did a fantastic job for the footy club. Then we've got the externals with all the, not only the supporters, but the business side that's in there as well. Melbourne has a lot of heavy hitters from the business piece, all wanting the club to go forward. Then you start to look internally, and you add people like Steve King and Ned Guy into it with the stability of Alan Richardson in there. We've just got great people everywhere I look. How do we harness that? How do we take it forward? And what I'd say is through that strength of alignment that certainly I have with Steve Smith, it's enabling us to think a bit broader than perhaps what I might have when I first come in.
How did you go watching Christian Petrarca and then Clayton Oliver in rival Guernseys on the weekend play so well?
Oh, you've got to say it was great to see. To see Christian back at his best was, just so heartening, and to see Clayton deliver as he did was just brilliant. They're Melbourne Life members. They'll always be Melbourne people. It was great to see, both Christian and Clayton departed for the right reasons, and we're on a different path now. We're not unhappy with what we've got in terms of trades for them. We're about setting ourselves up for the next window, but you can't help but admire champions, and both of those are champions got about their craft.
Paul, we've closed each of these with the same question. What does success look like for Melbourne in 2026 in your mind?
filling the MCG on a weekly basis would be a good start. Look, we're not going to put a ceiling on where we're going to finish. Ruthless, selfless, connected. If our fans rate us on that at the end of every game and we get high marks in those three, we'll be really happy. Ultimately, we want to play a brand of football that's going to lead to our next premiership window, and that's going to be exciting for us. We'll make mistakes along the way, we know that, but expect us to be higher scoring, expect the Pickets to go nuts, expect CJ and Lindsay come off the half-back line and deliver the ball, and hopefully Jacob Van Rooyen can kick a bagful for us under the tutelage of Brodie Myercheck as well. So lot to like about where we're going to be. We're going to turn up every day. We'll be different against St Kilda than what we will be against Fremantle the week after, but we're going to have a lot of fun along the journey.
Well, that's a pretty good platform to see you on Sunday. Thanks for your time today, Paul. You're talking directly to your members, so Membership Day for Melbourne is in full swing. Good luck.
Thanks, Jared.